Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Uncle Greg Show podcast with me, your host, Uncle Greg. This is a podcast where we talk about everything personal safety related as it relates to black people and the black community. And on today's episode, I'm going to be talking about something that hits really close to home for me, particularly as I have daughters in Houston last week, I believe. 16-year-old girl was killed by her mother's boyfriend, who shot her to death. And the way it's looking now is that it looks like he probably sexually assaulted her too. This is really bothersome for me because his mother had been dating this guy for 5 or 6 years, and she was out of town on business. I don't know how this guy got access to the girl, but the girl communicated with her mother and her sister that she was having a problem with the guy shortly before she was murdered. As a matter of fact, the sheriff deputies were waiting outside of the home. The guy actually killed her. And, this is not an isolated incident. You can pick up any news outlet source and see this goes on a too frequent of a basis across this country, not just in our community, but in a lot of communities. And the question comes down to, what are these parents who are having their kids killed like this, what are they doing to vet these people, to screen these people that they're going out with, and not trying to do a better job of protecting their children? I'm not laying blame on anyone, but this is sad. And I really have a problem with it because there are too many things out there and too many ways you can protect your children from things like this happening. And that's going to be what we're going to talk about today. I'm going to give you some do's and don'ts as well as some warning signs to look out for to protect it. If you're a single parent out there, because this doesn't just happen with men killing kids, it happens with women as well, because the dating pool is such now that there are a lot of sharks in it, and these sharks not only feed on the people they're dating, they also feed on their families as well. And we need to do a better job, as I said before, of protecting ourselves and our young. So as I said, I'm going to give you a few warning signs to look for, as well as some do's and don'ts that can help you if you're out there. Give you some things to think about and implement these things to keep your kids safe if you're not doing things already. So let's get started. As I said before, this happens way too often. And I just have one question to the parents who have exposed their kids to these type of predators. Didn't you see this coming? I mean, the warning signs were there. You probably miss them. And then again, you might not even know what to look for. But I mean, your paternal instinct or maternal instinct should at least give you some type of warning. It's like spidey sense that you should sense something is not right. And especially when it comes to your kids. I mean, at least mine and my senses do, because I'm very protective of my daughters, and I am always watchful. I guess because of my experience in law enforcement, I know what's out there and what I see every day with what's going on with these kids out there. It's just unfortunate and sad. And as I said, if I had been placed in this situation, this is my child, they wouldn't have to worry about the guy going to trial. As I said before, in this instance, the mother had been dating this guy for 5 or 6 years. She probably thought she knew him, but as it turns out now, evidently she didn't. And you just got to stop bringing people around your kids that you don't know. And I don't know how far in this guy's background. He had a criminal history. I don't know whether or not she was aware of it, but in any event, you expose your kids to him and with this tragic result. So, as I said, the bottom line is stop bringing your kids around people you don't know, or stop bringing people around your kids that you don't know. I don't care you're dating or whatever. I don't care how desperate you might seem for companionship. Get a dog. At least you can trust them more than you can trust some of these people out here. Anyway, let me give you some signs, some warning signs to look out for that could be possible indicators or indication that the person that you have or you're associated with might be a problem with your children. Okay, first off, they're too friendly, too fast with your children. If they come in like some father figure or mother figure, and they're just right off the bat very friendly with your children, you need to keep an eye on that. You really need to put a stop to it because they don't know your kids. So, and some people are friendly like that, but you can't take the chance that it's not some type of grooming process that this person is trying to implement to get close to your kids. The next thing you want to watch out for is if they're too touchy-feely. If they're the type of person that loves to hug your kids all the time, and this could be a precursor to molestation, and it also could be a way they gratify themselves by touching children. The next one is they try to isolate your kids from you frequently. Try to set up situations where they're around the children and you're not. You never want to trust your kids alone with anybody that you don't know and you don't trust. And if they're constantly trying to create situations where they're isolated with your kids, that's a problem. And you should not only put a stop to it, but you should let your kids know to tell you anytime situations like this start occurring. The next one goes hand in hand with trying to isolate your kids, and that is showing up unexpectedly at kids' school or school functions or events, sporting events, especially if you're not supposed to be there, and they know you're not supposed to be there. It's like they're waiting for an opening where you won't be available to protect your children. They want to exploit it and take advantage of that. So you want to make sure that if these people show up or this person shows up unexpectedly at an event where you're not there, your kids should let you know immediately. And finally, this is the most important and probably the most frequent tactic or most frequently used tactic by predators. And that is trying to communicate with your child through social media or other avenues. Because kids can be very naive about things, very trusting, and they let people in. And if they already know this person through your association with them, they might feel a little bit more comfortable with communicating with them. And that should not be going on. And you should let them know, as with the previous warning signs, that if this does happen, they should let you know immediately. And you should be monitoring their social media activity anyway. Just to make sure that there aren't other predators as well out there trying to prey on your children. Okay, so now let's talk about a few do's and don'ts, things you should be doing to help keep your children safe. First off, don't take anyone's word on their background. You should be doing some type of background check on the individual, and not just through word of mouth either, to find out who this person is, and if not for your own safety, for the safety of your children. You need to know everything you can about a person and that you're having frequent contact with, social contact with, and especially if they have access to your kids. So do a thorough background check. There's plenty of sources out there. They're available over the internet, and sometimes through your local city government or your state government. But you need to pay attention to some of the information that comes out of these background checks, because they're not in the databases that are out there. The vast majority of them are not like law enforcement databases. These type of databases that the public has access to, you could very well be getting stagnant information that's old. They don't get updated on a frequent basis like law enforcement databases. So if you got some friends within law enforcement, they can do a background check. I'd go that route first, because that will be the most thorough and give you the most accurate information. Okay. Don't make excuses, tolerate, or blow off any type of suspicious behavior. You put up with this. Well, the smallest things can turn into the biggest problems. So don't blow off anything. Don't excuse it. Don't tolerate it. The first sign of trouble, get rid of the person or get away from it. Definitely get your kids away from them. And if you find yourself in a situation where the person is a problem and it looks like they're going to be a threat to you and your children, don't be afraid to ask for help. There are too many resources out there that you can avail yourselves of and make sure that you and your family stay safe. And finally, do get rid of the person at the first sign of trouble. Don't take anything for granted. I don't care how much you like the person or they seem like such a nice guy, or don't try to excuse it away and say, oh, that's just a mistake they made this one time. No, don't give them a continuous opportunity to victimize you and your family, whether it's sexually or whether it's through physical violence. Take nothing for granted. I know for most of you parents, I'm not telling you anything that you don't already know, but evidently there are a lot of people out there that don't know, and you should share this information with them so we don't constantly see these type of situations occurring. And, as I said, it just really angers me to pick up my phone or turn on the news and see things like this happening, knowing very well they didn't have to, because as I said, in the overwhelming majority of these situations, there are warning signs, and whether the parent missed the warning signs or just outright ignored them doesn't make a difference. The child is still dead, and needlessly. And so, as I said, this is one of my pet peeves with parents who don't protect their children. You just need to stop and put your kids first in any relationship you have outside of your own home, and sometimes within your own home and within your own family, because there are predators that exist within people's families as well. So you have to keep an eye out for them. This podcast, our goal and mission is to keep people as safe as possible. We may focus on the black community in our discussions, but that's only because the black community is the most victimized. But we want all communities to be safe, especially when it comes to kids. Hopefully you'll find this information useful and you'll share not just this information, but share the information about the podcast and what we're doing here. Also like, subscribe, and follow. All the information to do that is listed in the description of every episode of the Uncle Greg Show. So just make sure you get the word out so we can avoid any type of incident like this and help our community stay just a little bit safer. You got questions or comments or even possible topics you'd like to hear discussed on this show, just go ahead and drop us a line at theunclegregshow@gmail.com, and we'll be glad to follow up with you. And if it's a topic that we can discuss, we will discuss it. Even if I don't have information on it, I'll find someone who's an expert in that field and bring them on, and we'll talk about that topic. Well, I hope you enjoyed this episode, and as I said before, just make sure that you like, follow, and share, and help get the word out and the information out to a wider audience. And make sure that you keep listening, because we've got some things coming up in the future. We're going to expand how we do things, not just whereas we're doing a podcast, but we're going to have some visual stuff as well that you can tune into our YouTube channel and learn even more about how you can keep yourself and your family and loved ones safe. Well, I hope you have a blessed week, and until the next episode, this has been Uncle Greg on the Uncle Greg Show and podcast. Make sure that you keep yourselves and your loved ones safe at all times.